when choices are being made, for example, in a family, you more often see that it favors the boy child, not the girl child. Why?
Well, the first thing is, I believe, depending on where you are, if it's in a village setting, I would argue that this trend is changing, slowly changing. You have universal education in most African countries now, which has obviously a direct impact in terms of girls' educational enrollment.
Universal education? Are you serious?
Free education, what they call the free education.
Well, I've heard about universal, for example, primary or secondary education in countries like Uganda, my friend. But when you look at those places, there's no education there.
No, I'm not talking about the quality of education, but I'm talking about the state stating that every kid, girl or boy, can go to school, which was not there before.
They state it. They talk.
Yes,
yes.
And that's the difference between what is written in Constitution and what happens in reality.
Precisely.
But I do believe, and you see it on the ground, that we're talking about the family. That has a certain impact on the family.
Right.
Of course, on the state side, there are a lot of things that need to be done. Strengthening of the institutions and some transparency. And I mean, the reason why education is not really being implemented the way it's being stated, it's because the infrastructure is not there. We all know that, because there's a rampant corruption. There's no emphasis on the education. But on the family side, the fact that your governor or the local leader will come in front of a community and say, people, you are encouraged to send your kids to school. It's going to be very different from the times of my mother, for instance,
of course,
who was actually told, you can't go to school. She had to run away from home. My mom went to school.
She ran away. We have to recognize that there have been
you can't go to school because you are a girl.
Exactly.
Yes.
That was
you
in
do not
1960s.
need education.
You do not need education.
You need to be married.
Your house is your place is in the house.
You will not use it. You will not use your education.
You will not use it, or you will not get married. You will not find a husband.
Let's also say that is not only in Africa, that in Europe, in the Western world, it was also like that. I always have this argument that it's an evolution.
What did you get most of the nowadays African cultures from? Because they come from the European world, because they have been colonized by the European people, and because of that, they bought a lot of the European cultural values.
The stratification of the society,
yeah, exactly.
A very superficial stratification, and the ladder. So you always have someone who's on top of you. Yeah. That's what we got from the colonizers, for sure.
But what about the selfish interests of the vanguards of society, culture, the men? Without colonialism, the men themselves on the ground in Africa. Is that sort of a change that is inclusive in their interest? Do they see it that way?
Let me get your question right. Whether they see women as allies, as partners today.
It depends. Yeah. Because it depends on the
Let me give you a practical example. Let's talk about the UN Resolution 1325, which really recommends and requests a greater representation and participation of women in peace negotiations. Now you look at 1990, between 1990 and 2000, you had 11% of peace negotiations which made direct references to women.
But
between 2000 and 2014, 27%.
Some progress.
Today, 2014, out of the 6 major peace negotiations we've had in the world, really, a good 67% of those accords made reference to women.
Some progress.
But then, that's where the but comes. Only 9% of women are part of the negotiation teams, are negotiators.
Interesting.
So they will be at the table, we will have the numbers, but those who will be
have no opinion.
Really having protocols and issues to debate on will be very minimum.
Yes.
So you have that.
I get you. Well, unfortunately, time happens not to be our best ally. You're tuned into Straight Talk Africa, and we'll have more of a discussion in a moment. But first, here is Ayenne Bior. Take it away, Ayenne.
Thanks, Shaka. Still to come, we'll reveal some of the fantastic feedback we've received from you, our audience, through social media. But now, here's our letter of the week from a Straight Talk Africa Facebook fan who responded to our question of the week. Our letter of the week comes from Martin Nyalusi from Tanzania. He writes, Kenya's Wangari Maathai showed a way for women and men to empower themselves through her war on conserving environments. Through her work, she made sure that the world was a better place. In Swahili, let us call her Mama wa Africa, or Mama Africa.